Hi, I'm Jessica Marriott and welcome back to the next episode of Back in a Mill. I'm joined today by the beautiful Emma Wright, who is the Director of Business Mama. So I've got some really exciting questions to ask you today, Emma.
Amazing.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. So I thought we'd just start today, kicking off with kind of personal life, and then we'll get a little bit more into business after that.
Yep.
So if you don't mind, can you just kind of start by telling me a little bit about your upbringing, just so I can kind of get to know you a little bit more?
Yeah. So I was brought up in a single parent household. So I would see my dad every weekend, like on a Saturday and a Sunday, but predominantly it was just me, and I've got two sisters and my mum. So it was like that up until I left home, which was about 17.
Oh, cute. So you grew up like quite in a quiet household,
Yeah.
I would say. No.
Absolute mayhem, but it was very female orientated.
Yeah.
And my mum and my dad had very, very different lives. So my dad kind of had he didn't have money, but he was a lot better off. And then my mum was kind of, more on the poorer side. So I actually got to grow up seeing both.
Oh, okay. So you did get to see both sides of the field. So which parent was it then what would you say then you kind of did to ensure that when you grew up and you went on to your adult life, did you have a set plan?
No, I really want to say that I was one of those entrepreneurs that actually did have a plan. I totally didn't have a plan at all. I originally was going to be a PE teacher. That was kind of my original route. And it was about a week before I was due to go to college that I changed my mind. Oh, wow. And I remember having to break it to my family that I was going into the beauty industry. And I mean, as you know, even now there's a lot of stigma and, it's a rubbish job and it doesn't pay well and blah, blah, blah. Back then, because we were going back like 19 years ago, that was massively, and it was pretty factual, to be honest. Back then, there wasn't a lot of money in the hair and the beauty industry, and I remember my dad saying to me, "You're never going to make any money. You need to go and get a proper job. You can't. This is not sustainable. You're never going to buy a house. You're never going to be able to pay for yourself to eat." And unfortunately for him, I'm one of those people. Every time I can't do something, then that's exactly what we're going to go and do. So that's what I did. I persevered.
You're a rebel, Emma.
And I thought, sod it, let's just go and do it. But going into the industry, I was like the most ungirliest girl ever. I didn't fit at all.
Really?
Oh my God, I was major tomboy. I remember being kicked out of my manicure class because I bit my nails and my lecturer was like, get out. Not wearing enough makeup to assignments. One of the main lecturer of the year, she literally was like, get out of my class. And I was like, I haven't even done my assessment yet. And she was like, I don't care. She was like, you don't respect my class, like get out and leave. She was like, come back when you're ready. Time from people saying, oh, you're right, hun, do you have a job? I'm like, oh my God. Like, for what? You haven't even told me what you do. Like, I have no idea what qualifications you hold.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just not. It's not as professional. I don't feel in certain aspects as it used to be, which I think is a massive shame. And there's like a huge call out for old school therapists because we do things properly rather than slapdash.
Yeah, and I think we do see this more, especially on Instagram. People just kind of send in a DM, hi, have you got any jobs?
Yeah.
What happened to, hello, I love the business.
Yeah.
This is who I am. Just being nice and polite. And I say this all the time in clinic, actually, because people will come to the reception desk and they'll say, I've got an appointment. I'm like,
Great.
hi, I'm Jess.
For what?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely get where you're going with that, 100%.
Yeah.
So you've always really been, I would say, dead strong then that you're going to be in beauty and that you're going to make that work and you're going to make a go of that, which is amazing because even though you weren't sure what you wanted to do, you were definitely like, I know I can do something here. And you was persistent despite, really. Yeah. Did anyone support you with this, Em?
Probably not in the beginning, and probably not when I was made redundant and set up my own business, because quite a lot of, so that was about 2009, 2010. So it was around the recession, and spas. Beauty is a really, really funny field to work in because you almost always can find a job. Like particularly if you can massage or you can do facials, so holistic therapies. You can just walk into any spa and you can start working tomorrow. the issue lied that a lot of those jobs had disappeared because of the recession. There was no money. And unfortunately, I was stuck in a position where I was like, well, I've just been made redundant. I can't find a job anywhere. I was part of a lot of the recruitment agencies. They didn't have any work either. And when they don't have work, you're all screwed. So I thought, well, I'm just going to have to work from home and pray for the best, really. I didn't live at home. And yeah, my first week I took 15 pounds. It was a spray tan. I'll never forget it.
Really? Oh, that's so cute that you remember that.
Because at the time I remember thinking, shit, how am I going to eat this week?
And then the voice of your father is in your head. How are you going to eat, Emma?
Oh, don't. And that conversation was had multiple times. Like, come on, you know, you've got to admit defeat. And I'm like, no, not doing it. I remember going around flyering, like all the old
you did all that yourself?
Yeah, because Facebook wasn't a thing. Like, I don't think I had Facebook until maybe like early 20s, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was 19.
Generational thing, isn't it?
Such a generational thing. And I don't think the people in the industry now, I don't think they realise actually how lucky they are that they put one post out and it's shared to like thousands of, if not millions of people. Whereas back then it was having to do that interaction thing and connect with clients and go, oh my God, I do that for a living. You know, I'll do your nails, or did you want to come in for this, that and the other? And it was trying to build a relationship with these people. So I developed something like a pamper party thing that I would go out and do them in the evening. And it would mean that every time I would sort of have an evening gig, I'd be coming away with about 100, 150 pounds a night, around in a brand new Range Rover. And I I remember just sitting in this car just thinking, fuck, like a bypass Mini, just like gone straight
how did I get here?
Like how has this happened? But I think a lot of people, when they look at people and they look at success and they think, God, they're so lucky, they're driving brand new cars, they've got these lovely houses and all the rest of it, they don't see the 10 years. I always say it takes about 10 years to get to that point. They don't see the work that's had to go in, so that they don't see the sleepless nights, they don't see the 6 pamper parties a week until midnight, they don't see the 4 hours sleep because you're working in a nightclub to pay rent. Like it's all of those things that are really, really character building, and it's really, really shit along the way. But actually, when you get to sit in a brand new Range Rover and you think, God, I've actually walked into a showroom and gone, I'll have that one.
Amazing.
Like, what an amazing feeling coming from, you know, a house that didn't have heating.
Exactly. And I think for that, it's like such an accomplishment, and you're so grateful because you know you've worked for it yourself. And I come from a little bit of a similar background myself. Like, I remember when my mum, she used to cook me dinner, and do you remember those chips that you'd get in a box?
Yeah, McCann chips. I used to eat those all the time.
You put them in the microwave.
You get like 5 chips in a box.
Yeah, I used to literally live off those. Jam sandwiches, anything that was cheap to make. So I think like when we do kind of come out of that and we're like, wow, I did this by myself. I've done all right.
It's wild to think back just like snippets of childhood. I remember being every morning I would stand in front of the ironing board and my mum would iron my uniform and my knickers and my socks, just so that when I put them on, they were actually warm, because we were so cold.
Is that why she did it?
Because we were in, if I remember rightly, back then we had a 3-bedroom house, but we actually only lived out of 2 rooms, and all the rest of the house was shut off. We weren't allowed in it because it was so cold. Like, you could literally see your breath. And so we had no heating or anything. So what would happen is that if we generated any heat from the kitchen, that it would heat up the room that we would then sleep in, and they had put a bed down there so that it was actually warm. So the only time we would go upstairs would be to like for bed, but we would have hot water bottles and, you know, like fully dressed. Basically.
Did you understand that when you were a child? Did you ever think, why can't we go to this area of the house, or was it just normal for you?
It was very normal, but I do remember going home quite a lot and saying to my mum, you know, I was embarrassed to have friends round. And I remember going, you know, why do they have double glazing? I remember saying to her once, I walked past someone's house and I was like, why are their windows so different to ours? And I didn't understand why. And I remember saying to my mum, you know, they've got these like plastic windows, like why are ours all wooden? I don't understand. And she was like, okay, so she had explained it to me, and that, you know, they're really expensive and not everybody gets to have them. And at that point, I mean, I must have probably been, I think I was at middle school, so maybe like 10, 11, and I remember just thinking, that's just really shit, isn't it? Like, even my house looks like we're poor, like let alone everything else. And we would have hand-me-downs and everything, like that was pretty standard, unless we were at my dad's. And obviously if we were at my dad's, he would take us shopping and, you know, take us on aeroplanes. But if it wasn't for him doing those things, I wouldn't have seen any of that. Wow. Really. Yeah.
Do you feel like the relationship that you had with your dad impacted how you were massively as an adult?
Yeah, hugely, because I think he taught me at a very young age that you have a choice. Like, you can go and live like your mum, and that was her choice. It wasn't. I truly believe in life when obviously people are brought up in a certain way, and it definitely makes the situation harder, like, to get out of. But I do genuinely think that we all have choices to make, and whatever those choices are will lead to whatever it is that you're able to achieve in the future. Obviously mindset as well is such a massive thing, and a lot of people don't physically have the strength or, you know, the strong mindset to achieve X, Y and Z because they're dealing with their own shit. But generally speaking, I think if something hurts you that much, then you're willing to change it. And I think that was the position that I was in. I remember just thinking,
that's really powerful, isn't it, actually? Because I think people that maybe come from like less privileged households might naturally feel that they have less chance. And I think seeing you and hearing this story could be really empowering, being like, you know, okay, it is a choice, and I think you have to choose what level of pain you're willing to accept to get there. And that is a personal choice that not everyone might want to take.
Yeah, what feels worse for you. Basically.
Exactly. And the pain that I might be willing to endure to get somewhere might not be the same pain that you're willing to endure. You know, are you willing to kind of work Saturdays and Sundays? Maybe I will, maybe someone else won't. So it's all those choices, isn't it, that ultimately set out our path.
100%. I mean, I always say to people when they come to me and they go, Emma, I want to achieve X, Y and Z. And I'm like, okay, you can have X, Y and Z, but how bad do you want it? Because if you're coming to me saying you want X, Y and Z, but you want to finish at 5 every night, you don't want to work Saturdays and Sundays, you don't want to do anything that's too pressing or too stressful, I can't work with you because it's not what success looks like. And annoyingly, I think social media has a huge impact on that. I think a lot of people are now looking at successful people going, oh, but they only work 3 hours a week. And I'm like, but it's not realistic. And unfortunately, you don't get that until you kind of push past a certain figure. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but I still work 5 days a week. You know, I work 3 days from home. I work 2 days in clinic. Do I have to? No, not really, not particularly. I enjoy a lot of what I do, which is why I do it. But I still have to live. I still have a mortgage to pay.
Of course. And I think the more successful you become, what other people also don't realise is the more luxuries you have and the more expensive those luxuries become. So actually the outgoings increase with the luxurious things that you want to buy, because of course once you've gone from a Mini to a Range Rover, you then want the next Range Rover, and it's a kind
Which
of
is funny because I actually got rid of my Range Rover and actually went and bought a Mini. Because I sat there at one point, it was when they were all being broken into.
No, I love that.
And I thought, do you know what? Sod this,
fantastic.
I'm just going to get rid of it. And for ages, I was like, right, what do I buy? I looked at Audi, I looked at Mercedes, I looked at all the, you know, luxurious brands. And they were all wonderful. But I kind of just thought, do you know what? I think I'm going to make 17-year-old Emma happy.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and buy my Mini. Because at this point, I don't give a shit if people think I'm successful or not. Like, I know what I have. I know what I bring to the table. I suppose I don't require that external validation of people seeing me drive a Range Rover and going, oh my God, look, Emma's got a brand new range. You know, she must be doing really well. I know I'm doing really well and I'm cool with that. So actually, I'm quite happy to drive my little Mini Countryman round. And I live in a village, so, it works well. I've got 2 dogs, 2 kids. I mean, it just gets annihilated and wrecked anyway. So when my children are of an age where I can put them again in a Range Rover where they're not going to wreck it, I probably would get another one.
But you don't need to prove anything.
Exactly that.
Do you think that Instagram plays the biggest part in people feeling like they have to do this?
Oh, I can't tell you, and I say it on so many of my talks, that why is it as mothers that we dress our children all in white and grey and put photos up of them? I mean, I've got 2 boys. They stay white and grey for a whole of about 3 seconds before they're black because they've rolled around in mud. Are we seeking this validation from other people so that we feel important, so that we are falling in line and we look like we've made it and like we've got this perfect family? And I can't quite figure out what it is as the reason as to why we do these things. But I'm fucking over it, to be honest.
It's so boring, isn't it?
It's so boring and tedious.
And if Instagram and socials were to go tomorrow, would we all still be striving for that level?
No.
Because who's going to see, apart from, you know, going to the corner shop and you might pass a guy with his dog.
Yeah. I mean, like I said to you before this, so I think it was about a week ago, I put up a post and I said that, you know, I was going through a really, really tough time personally. I had taken myself out of all of my businesses for about 4 months at the beginning of the year. It wasn't enough for me, so I threw myself back into work. It was too much, and I've decided to pull myself out of it again. In the last week, I can't describe to you how much calmer my nervous system has been.
Really?
And I think that's because I'm not being expected to show up in a certain capacity. I mean, the love I got from that post was just, I mean, it was beautiful. I had so many DMs going, oh my God, you know, I hope you're okay, and I'm here if you need me. I had lots of people going, oh my God, I'm going to really miss your posts. And I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to miss creating those posts, because every post that I create, particularly on Business Mama, is created for a reason. It's not created to sell retreat tickets. It's not created to sell business coaching. It's created from a psychological impact of saying, you know, if you are feeling like this is kind of how you can overcome it. So I am definitely missing that connection and helping people. But equally, I can't flow from a cup that's just totally dry and empty.
Because your posts, they have so much value. They really do. And I look at your posts and I'm like, oh, like, I just love that, you know, and something resonates with you. You can't make that up. It's raw. And I think when you are scrolling on Instagram, you can instantaneously see the posts that aren't genuine versus the ones that are actually being posted with a purpose. And I think that's why it's kind of sad. But at the same time, we are so guilty of neglecting self-care. To the point of, okay, when are we going to actually just stop and say, no, that's it?
Yeah, I think we hide behind a lot of, I think we use pretty privilege nowadays quite a lot. And I think a lot of particularly women, I think we hide behind fake tan, behind Botox, behind fillers, you know, behind all of these things that make us look and appear pretty, like we're smashing life, but actually behind closed doors we're like, women are fucking broken. Like, we're broken. We're managing children and home lives and God knows what else, trying to run multiple businesses or a business that, you know, that is succeeding and doing really, really well. And I think when people look at your life and think, fuck, you're smashing it, like, what more to life could you possibly want? And quite a lot of us are sat there going, connection, genuine connection. I don't want to connect with people potentially who are actually going to shit on me like a year down the line, which a lot of them are doing because they're trying to climb to the top. So I think we are in a bit of an era at the moment where women aren't feeling seen and they're not feeling heard, and they don't feel safe enough to feel seen or to feel heard because they think that their vulnerability almost makes them a failure. So they're not happy to go on socials and go, I'm struggling, like I need help.
I completely agree, because it almost makes us feel like you just said, like we're failing somehow. And how sad is that?
How sad is that? And I had a business coach myself for about a year, and I remember her saying to me, I need to get you on stage, like, you know, when are we doing this? And I was like, no, not doing it, like I'm not there yet. And then I remember a few months down the line, I said to her, I think I'm ready, like I think I know what I need to do, but the problem is I don't think my industry is ready for it. Like I genuinely don't think they're ready for someone to call them out on their bullshit and go, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And it amazed me. She said to me, you're just going to have to go and do it. She said, because no one else is doing
it yet. No pressure.
Yeah, she was like, just throw yourself out there. She said, because actually they're, like you're saying, there is such a sea of fakeness that when somebody real and somebody raw steps in, like you're going to glow because that's what people are wanting. And I thought, no pressure, but we're going to do it. And doing that, although it was very, very scary because I'm such a huge introvert, and I thought, my God, I don't want to draw attention to myself. I don't really want people sort of picking me up out of a lineup. I equally thought, if there is nobody else calling this shit out, where are all these women going to heal themselves?
Who's going to do it?
Get support. and that's kind of how it evolved and how it started, and why I started doing
That's
public
really
speaking.
sweet. That's so nice, and it's so authentic.
Yeah, I genuinely really love it, and that's why I started my degree, because I started noticing a pattern, particularly with one-to-one coaching clients, that they were coming on for an hour's call every month, and that hour call, it almost had nothing to do with their business. Like, they would literally be like, Emma, I can't talk about my business today, but this has happened in my personal life. Like, can we talk about that? And I think for a lot of people, it's actually less about having a business coach and more about having a safe space where they can contact someone or voice note me, which I get a lot, especially, you know, WhatsApp and DM, of women literally in tears going, my fucking world has ended today. Like, you know, this, that and the other has happened. They don't see a way out. They feel trapped. They can't share the news with anybody because they don't want to look like they're failing. And unfortunately, they have a lot of competition. So they're stuck in this kind of narrative of, I've got to show up and look happy and look successful and drive a Range Rover and all these things. And I just call bullshit on it.
How much pressure though is that?
So much pressure. So much pressure. And it's really affecting us going down the line. And I sit and think to myself, what are we teaching the girls? Like, what are we teaching the younger generation about how women should be? This is not, women shouldn't be stressed up to their eyeballs and earning millions. Like, we shouldn't be
so
feeling
much
this
pressure,
way.
isn't it? And Instagram has just had such negative effects on this, and I think the younger people that are coming into Instagram, it's like it's getting worse and worse, and it makes you fearful, doesn't it, for your children when our children grow up. You know, I don't want my son putting, or, you know, your daughters putting this much pressure on themselves. Would you want your daughters to feel how you have felt?
No, oh God, I'm so happy that I'm old, because being 35, we were brought up slightly differently. Like, we didn't have the pressure of Instagram. I mean, I used to go out on a night out in a nightclub with Kodak throwaway camera that you would twist on. You would have one photo. I think it was like 20 photos to a roll, wasn't it? And you would go into town and physically get that camera kind of developed,
and you had to wait for it.
And you had to wait. We'd go and have a little shop for an hour. We'd go pick it up and go, oh my God, look how terrible it is. And that was it. Whereas now I look at these girls and I think, God, I remember one girl, she came to me and she added me on social media. I knew I'd met her, so I knew who she was. She added me on social media. I had to go back 2 years on her social media to figure out who she was, because her photos were so filtered. I didn't recognise her at all. And she genuinely doesn't look like that in person. And she's stunning. Like, she's early 20s. She's beautiful.
Such a shame, isn't it?
And I thought, why are you doing this? Because you're such a beautiful girl. I didn't understand why she felt the need to. There's tweaking photos, but there's editing to a point where it doesn't even look like you anymore. We all edit photos. I'll call bullshit and anyone says that they don't. You know, we all smooth out skin and do whatever, and that's cool. But when you're editing them to a point where if I pass you in the street, I don't know who you are, who's that for exactly? Are you doing it because there's low self-esteem there and self-worth? Or are you doing it to try and impress somebody? Are we doing it because we're single and we're trying to get husbands? Like, what's the reason? And I still can't quite figure it out. I don't know whether it's just external validation.
I think so. I think so. And I think a lot of it comes from a lot of TV, Kardashians. They film everything with filters. So even though it looks organic and natural, it's not. And I think anyone that has that amount of money to access that amount of high-end treatments, of course they're going to look better than, you know, someone that's
boob jobs at 16, weren't they? It's wild. Like, if I've always said that if I hadn't, you know, an unlimited credit card, I probably wouldn't have looked like me. I'd definitely look like a different person. Because I'm still human, I'm still female, you know, I still like to feel nice and look nice. It's understanding why we're doing it. As long as we're doing it for ourselves, so that we walk out of the house and go, do you know what, I feel amazing today. Perfect. If you are doing it to seek validation elsewhere, we need to look at that. You know,
because it doesn't stop either, does it?
It doesn't stop. And actually you can gain, and I've said this a million times, when I was having my coaching for my business, it was because I was in a really I suppose like a tricky place of crossroads. I didn't quite know where the business was going. I felt a little bit lost personally. I just didn't really know what to do. And I remember sitting in my car talking to my therapist and her saying to me, you know, you've been crying for 20 minutes. You're gonna have to say words to me at some point. And I was just like, do you know what, I just don't have words today. And she said, why are you so upset? And I remember saying to her, I genuinely thought that when I bought the you know, fantastic house and I bought the brand new car, that there would be fireworks somewhere. Like, I genuinely thought that was a thing. And then I came to the sudden realization that that never happens. And actually, I was burnt out. I was exhausted. I hadn't seen my kids properly. You know, that one-to-one time with them had kind of disappeared. They were still very young. And I remember saying to her that I just can't stop. And she said, why can't you stop? And I said, because I need to be able to sit at certain tables. And she went, great. Who's sitting at those tables? I was like, I don't know. I genuinely had no idea. So I was busting my balls trying to get to this point of success, whatever the hell that is or whatever it looks like. And I wanted to sit at certain tables with all these, you know, really sort of high-end professionals that had loads of followers on Instagram and all the rest of it. But I didn't know why.
Or who they even were.
Anyway, she said to me, why can't you just create your own table? And I was like, well, no one's going to want to sit at that. Like, I'm a fucking mess at this point. Like, no one's going to want to sit at that. And then, you know, time went on. And then luckily I was kind of catapulted into a certain part of the business where I was able to sit at certain tables. And suddenly I realised that sitting at these tables with these people who I admired for such a long time, you know, they were absolutely smashing it in the industry. I realised how broken they all were as well. And I thought, are we all just pretending? Like, because actually that's how it seems. And then I suddenly realised that I didn't want to sit at these tables at all, which actually was helpful for me because I was able to kind of like reflect back and take myself out and go, yeah, the tables aren't what I thought they were. So for anybody who's kind of starting out in the industry, when they're looking at people who are kind of, you know, top end and they look like they're smashing it, I want them to understand that it is not what it seems on social media. Like, they are still human.
I love this story. I just love everything about this. It's so real, and you're so right. Who are these people? It's almost like we say it in our heads, but do we play it out to the end and actually get to the end of that line? Okay, so who is it? What is that person? What have they had to go through to get there? Are they happy? Probably
I
not.
honestly don't think a lot of them are. And actually, truth be told, from what I've just from talking to people and coaching people, kind of from what I'm seeing, like, human behavior is that, particularly women, I don't know, it's almost like a punishment. I actually said to my therapist, I actually think I do it as a form of self-harm. Like, you know, some people cut themselves, some people will use alcohol and addiction and drugs. Mine was that getting self-validation from being successful, because I thought if I was successful, then people would look at me differently. And I think quite a lot of women do that. I think that's okay, well, I might not look the way that I want, but actually at least I'm turning over a mill. So it's almost like I suppose a different way, rather than using a filter on their photos, they're doing the success thing. But as human behavior has proved, you know, we will climb the top of the mountain and then we just see a bigger mountain. So I try to explain to people that you can't get fixated on a particular goal that's at the end where you go, right, I want to buy that Range Rover, because when you buy that Range Rover you're going to want a Porsche, and when you buy a Porsche you're going to want a Lamborghini. Like, there is always, it doesn't stop higher.
Does it?
It doesn't stop, and it's exhausting. So you have to enjoy the journey, and if you genuinely are not enjoying the journey, you need to stop, because it's not going to change. That journey is going to continue because you are going to keep striving for more, and it's a lot to take. It's a lot of pressure.
Do you think that ego has a big part to play in this?
It did for me when I was sort of 25. Like, driving around in that Range Rover, I mean, honey, I remember thinking to myself, yeah, you look at me and think I'm successful, because I fucking am. And I absolutely loved it, but only maybe for a couple. I had 2 Range Rovers back to back, so I had one for about 6 years. You know, you buy one, you upgrade it, don't you, and get a better one. And I mean, it was I actually loved the car, to be fair, and I loved it for the time that I had it. And I found that people spoke to me differently because they knew I had one. I think when you get to a certain point in business, it's quite similar. I always say, when you see somebody who has a ton of money, real money, not just, you know, flashy money, they will be coated head to toe in Gucci and God knows what else, but you actually won't see any logo. It will just look like a plain black t-shirt. Because they don't want people to know that they're wearing Gucci. They just bought it because they like the feel of the material, whatever it is. when people are trying to be flashy with money, they will do it in very, very big ways. So they will, be dressed head to toe, and the motif will be huge on the front, and because they're trying to seek that validation where someone goes, oh my God, look at her, she's doing so well,
because it's got Louis Vuitton written all over it, and it's like very in your face.
And don't get me wrong, we all have Louis Vuitton handbags and stuff. I've got one with me today, but it depends why you are trying to do all of these things. And I think a lot of us, particularly females, have got a little bit lost. I think we're doing it all for the wrong reason. And actually, I spoke to somebody not so long ago. She is absolutely rolling it. Like, she's smashing it at the minute. And I commented on her shoes that she was wearing the other week. And I said, oh my God, they're delicious. Where did you get them from? And she was like, Turkey. I was like, shut up. I was like, the one person that you would think would actually go and buy them real. She was like, I'm not buying them real. She was like, why would I waste my money? And I was like, hilarious.
But then you've got someone that's saving everything they've got just to prove that they can get it.
Exactly.
When really, does anyone give a shit?
Not really. The fakes are amazing now.
Yeah.
I notice this anyway. But trying to do that for you, but you won't allow it because you have such a masculine energy. You're so used to dealing with everything. You can't put it down. And I thought, yeah, he's right. Like, I can't even argue that, because that is exactly what happened. So it is hard. Yeah. I think that's probably why there's so many successful women that are single nowadays.
Yeah. I think a lot of successful women, particularly that I work with as well, they do end up single. And I think these can create problems in relationships if you're not able to look in yourself and understand how mindset and ego and all of this plays a part in actually how we move forwards, and actually what contributes to us being happy. Because
happy?
This is it, isn't it? And we put so much emphasis on how we feel, so much. But feelings are so broad. We're stressed, we're happy, we're sad, we're this, we're that. But actually, what do we need?
I don't think people understand what happiness is. I think that's a lot of the root of the problem, because they're seeing happiness as an object. And we've all done it. How many times have we all taken photos, family photo, and we all look happy and like everything's dandy, but actually you've just had a row with your husband, your kid's been a dickhead because they've done whatever, and you're sat there thinking, just shoot me now. Like, I'm in the middle of the Caribbean, this looks great on Instagram, but like, I'm miserable right now. And I think Instagram is crap in that respect, for the fact that it hides a multitude of sins. It doesn't show what the person's actually feeling or what they're physically going through. And then unfortunately a lot of us will look at that and go, oh, to be happy I need to be living in the Caribbean, or I need to be holidaying here, there and everywhere. I had a discussion with somebody about this the other day regarding when we should be looking at our phones. So when we wake up, for about 30 minutes, for the first 30 minutes after we wake up, our brain is actually still asleep. Scientifically, it's still asleep. And when we check our phones, like we do the newspaper, our brains function in a particular way. So if you were to see a video of your friends in Disneyland Paris with their family having a lovely time, you would instantly sit there and go, God, why can't I take my kids to Disneyland Paris? Or why have I not got time to take time out to go and do that? This is shit. If you had looked at that 30 minutes later, once your brain had actually woken up, your brain would actually look at it differently and go, oh my God, my friend looks like she's having a ball. Like, I'm going to drop her a message and just say to her, your photo looks amazing. You look like you're having a lovely time. And that's the difference between us waking up and checking socials, or waking up, leaving it 30 minutes and checking socials again. But I don't think many of us do that. So what we do is we set ourselves up every single day, because I do it as well. I literally go onto Instagram straight away. We set ourselves up in the morning to have a really, really shitty day, because we're instantly comparing ourselves to Tom, Dick and Harry, who are doing whatever they're doing, and we instantly feel like we're not good enough.
I think we should challenge everyone that's watching this. I think there's a challenge
for 30 minutes.
30 minutes every day for a week, not to check their phones, and see if it makes a difference.
Yeah, I guarantee you will feel miles better.
I'm going to do this as well. I'm in the challenge.
Oh, please do, and let me know how you feel, because it's silly little things. So if you were to wake up, whatever you do in the first 30 minutes will literally set your day up. So this can be, it's very, very difficult in the winter, but summer and springtime, if you're actually going outside and having you know, that sun on your face, and you're going to go make yourself a cup of coffee, have a glass of water, you know, connect with your children, connect with your husband. All of those things, I mean, hands up, I don't do any of that. Just as a, you know, I'm not sitting here saying I do, because I am one of those that checks my Instagram, but I'm aware of it.
You know, you should be doing
it. Yeah. And you do. I mean, I have trialed it for a week, and it 100% made a difference. But we fall back into old habits. Like, it's so easy to do.
I think habits and habit changing is, it's one thing knowing what we need to do, but it's a completely different thing actually implementing it, isn't it? And I think implementing habit changes is quite difficult when we're so stressed and busy. And actually, you've just told me that you're taking a bit of a step back at the moment. You're not taking on any new clients for the meantime because you're having your own personal journey. But actually, is that going to allow you to do some mindset changes and to do some habit changes, Emma?
No, I'm always going to be honest, because I can't sit here and say that it will.
Really?
So
So this is quite a big barrier for you.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, I've been in therapy since probably about 2020 when I became unwell, and I've broken down a lot of doors and gotten over a lot of obstacles that absolutely kept me sort of from actually taking steps and succeeding and whatever. If I hadn't have done that journey to begin with, you absolutely would not have me on stage now. Like, I wouldn't be sat here. Like, absolutely no. So it has definitely pushed me in the right direction. However, that being said, I think it depends on what you're dealing with to depend on the type of habits that you're willing to give up, because not everybody's healing journey will look the same. And it's quite similar when you say to somebody, oh, well, I need to go on a diet, but I also need to give up smoking. Don't do both. Not at the same time. Like, your nervous system can't cope with it. Yeah. Because it is just a lot for your body to take in one hit. And I'm very aware that my nervous system at the moment is probably on fight or flight quite a lot of the time. You know, I have multiple businesses to manage. I have multiple feelings to manage, not mine, other people's, in terms of clients, you know, holding safe spaces for them. I even contacted my business coach the other week, and I said to her, how do you physically hold emotional space, safe space for other people when you are just so fucking broken yourself? Like, because if your cup is empty, how are you meant to give that time for other people? It's incredibly difficult. Particularly as a mum, because you, regardless of whether you want to or not, I've got two small people looking up to me for emotional help, you know, and support. So they are my priority for the time being. My heart will probably mend and heal over a period of time, but navigating a new life with, you know, without a husband and without a man in the house, and ensuring, I mean, two boys particularly, you know, they obviously will see him, of course, we'll have 50-50 custody, but ensuring that they are happy and secure is actually quite a big job. And I feel like I probably can't change habits until my nervous system has actually calmed down a little bit. I think
so you are a realist, aren't you?
Yeah,
you kind of know
I can't do it all at the end of the day, and I can only promise to do certain things, which is, I mean, somebody said to me the other week, why have you posted that up? You know, you could have just gone off grid and not said anything. And I was like, 100%. And people probably would have been a bit like where she disappeared to. But I thought, how can I sit here and bleat about the fact that, you know, you need a safe space? Because that's what all my retreats are for. You know, we create a safe space for female founders so that you can come, and if you cut all the retreats that we run, everybody comes, they either arrive in tears or they leave in tears. And that's because they realise that actually they're in a place where they can just let go, and there's no... at the last retreat that we did, we opened it and with the introduction, and I said to everybody there, I don't give a shit how much money you earn. I don't care what job title you have. I don't give a fuck about what car you drive. Like, I just want you and your soul to be present here today, because that's fundamentally what I actually want to work on. We can build the 6-figure business. Like, that's cool. We can just do that in the background. But I can't build the 6-figure business with you unless you're working on yourself first. And I think we have to be realistic in the fact that if you aren't in an environment where you can do that, it's impossible. So you can't sit here and go, right, I'm going to exercise twice a week and I'm going to change my eating habits and I'm going to quit smoking and I'm going to do this, that and the other, if you mentally can't facilitate that. And I wanted people to see that just because I'm a mindset speaker, just because I'm, you know, a coach, just because I do meditation and breath work and all the rest of it, doesn't mean that my life is like a bunch of roses, because it is so far from it. I can't even describe.
I think people do automatically assume that, don't they?
Yeah, because all they see is fluffy stuff, and I'm a bit oversharing the fluffy stuff. Like, of course, I have a very lovely life. Of course I do. If I wanted to take a month off work, I could. Like, no biggie. I drive a brand new car. Like, all of those things are lovely, but a lot of them are very materialistic. These materialistic things, they don't really mean a lot unless what's going up in here is kind of correlating. You know, if I'm genuinely sad, I don't really care what car I'm sat in. I'll cry in any car. Like, I don't care that it's brand new. Like, I'll cry on the street. Like, and I think
it's so true, isn't it?
Like, I think we just need to drop these fucking brick walls that us girls have got, where we don't feel safe to have that cry about the fact that we're having a shitty day. Like, I would just rather call it out for what it is, so that it allows somebody else to go, oh God, I feel like that too. Like, okay, so I'm not a failure because I feel like that.
Yeah, and I think sometimes just hearing the fact that someone else is feeling like that as well can just make all the difference. Because when you feel like that in that moment, you just feel like you're the only person in the planet that feels that feeling in that moment. But it's so not true, is it?
No.
And I think with what you're doing with your coaching, I mean, are you finding that you're mostly having to deal with a lot of mindset stuff, like you've said?
Oh God. Yeah. I mean,
how do you deal with that though when you're dealing with all of this that you have going on?
Yeah, it's actually a really lovely distraction. I actually said that to someone the other day, because she asked me the same, and I said to her, it's really nice to listen to other people's shit and not have to think about my own. I find it very, very easy holding safe spaces for people, because actually a lot of the time, being a woman and being a woman in this particular world, I think a lot of the time none of us feel seen or heard. And when we do feel like we've been seen or heard, we actually, like, are people actually listening? Like, do I have a safe space to talk? You know, that type of thing. Is there judgment there? Is this going to come back and bite me on the ass at some point or another? You know, if I say actually how I feel, is it going to hurt me in the future? And I think a lot of the time most women choose not to say anything, and I don't know why, but I have the ability to create that space for them where when they're talking, I simply listen, and it allows them to get those things off their chest. And they know anything that's said to me on a call. I mean, you could literally get on a call and tell me you want to kill your husband. Like, it's happening. Don't we all? And I'm cool with that, and there's no judgment from my end, because if you had seen some of the things that I've been through personally from a very, very young age, my life's a fucking shit show. Like, I can't sit here and pass judgment on yours. You must be mad. And I think it's nice for a woman to go to somebody else. And I mean, I do a lot of like one-off calls from people who are kind of, you know, preparing to go on stage, or I don't know, they've got something big in the pipeline at work and they're really struggling, they've got imposter syndrome or whatever it may look like. And we would do an hour or 2 hour call with them, and a lot of the call time is me going, how can I help you? Like, how can I facilitate you today? What is it that you physically need from me that you aren't getting elsewhere in your life at the moment?
I love how authentic you are. It's just it just radiates from you. You're so authentic, and I think because you're so genuine and you're so humbled, Emma, you're so humbled, I think when people connect with you, especially women, I think they feel it, because you don't even have to say anything. They feel it
a lot of the time. Oh my God, I had a client the other week that came on Zoom, and I took one look at her when she opened the camera, and I went, oh God, what's happened? And she went, how do you do that? And I was like, I don't know. I said, well, what's happened?
It's natural.
She was like, oh, I wasn't going to tell you. And I was like, no, come on. And I was like, I just know it's written across your face. Tell me what's happened. And she said, and it blurted out. It was like word vomit. And we spoke about it for 10 minutes. We nipped it in the bud. And I was like, do you feel better about it now that you've articulated it? It's come out. You've got it off your chest. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, fab, let's get to business.
That's great.
Let's go build
We
business.
all need you in our lives, Emma.
And it's really funny because I always say to people, it's really difficult to articulate what it is that I do, because if you go onto my page, yes, I'm a business coach, absolutely, I can give you strategic plannings, marketing plans, whatever it is that you need to build a business. Cool, we can do that. It's technically not really what I deliver. I would do it on the phone with you,
sure.
But when I speak to you on the phone, it's normally, you know, what's been going on, tell me, catch me up, you know, what's been going on in the last month. And 9 times out of 10 I won't hear about the business at all. It will be, you know, this has happened in my personal life and I'm really, really struggling with this, or my imposter syndrome has kicked in and I just feel like a bag of shit and I don't feel like I'm good enough. And
how rewarding, though, that you're able to help with those types of issues, and how rewarding is it that they feel like they can say these things to you, because that's big. Like, you know,
the
people will
huge.
hide things from you until they're blue in the face saying nothing's absolutely wrong with me. So the fact that people are sharing with you obviously totally just sings your praises, and the fact that they feel so safe with you, and that's huge. That's
I
really
love
difficult.
weirdly, I hate Zoom. I think we're probably my age group probably does. I could never get it to bloody work, and when it does, it's a nightmare. But speaking to somebody face to face, like occasionally I'll jump in the car and I'll go and drive to their clinics and stuff just to kind of like check in, and so I can see them in person. And being able to physically hug somebody and just to say to them, I've got you, like, you're cool, like whatever it is, we can work through it, we can deal with it. I don't think a lot of women who are multi 6-7 figure get to hear that very often, because quite frankly their husbands don't have them. And it's because they're a business coach. Our industry in particular, there wasn't loads to choose from. Like, I hadn't really heard of anyone in particular that had kind of stuck out for giving me what it was that I actually wanted. So I did loads of research, and I actually ended up going with a company who didn't specialise in my field at all. They specialised more in the actual running of a 6-figure and building 6 figures and building 7 figures. And what I learned from them was actually that I could create somewhere that did both. So I could create a space that could do the mindset stuff, but then also create the same space that did all of the business stuff as well, because a lot of coaches would do one or the other. It's very, very rare that they combine.
I completely agree. I don't really see anyone that's had a combined kind of approach, which is what makes you very unique and niche. And I think with anything that you're going to have, you have to have value, something that resonates with you, and something that's just it's different, isn't it? Yeah, it's so different.
I physically couldn't do one without the other.
Yes.
Like doing business coaching without the mindset and doing the mindset without the business, it wouldn't make sense to me. So I just, which is why we developed the retreats as well, because it really combines both of them together. Because there's so many women out there who want to, you know, they want to go and experience stuff. Like our Greece retreat is combining experiences with the deep mindset work, but then also actually having speakers that hold real value. Like they will physically come and teach you and give you the toolkit to create X, Y, and Z. Because in business is a funny thing. I mean, I don't actually just coach people in our industry. I do actually do multiple industries, and it's the principles are the same. Businesses are all the same. The foundations are all the same. Their mindset isn't all the same.
Yeah.
So that can be manipulated, but the business stuff, I mean, oh my God, give me anyone, any business, like, and it's all same.
Yeah, so, yeah. And I suppose that's the easier thing, because it's very much a set, whereas like you've said, everyone's mindset is so different. You're never going to get two people with the same mindset, are you?
Never. Never. And
we both know that.
Men and women as well, because I actually do male clients as well. They are literally no different. Like I still have them come on Zoom in tears.
Wow.
You know, because they're finding the pressure of just having the business and trying to take care of their family and stuff. Like they have slightly different issues, but the feelings are the same.
That's crazy. What would you say is the biggest challenge you faced in your career so far?
The biggest challenge, I would say, was trying to get to the top and being taken seriously. Because the minute when someone said, I always find it funny when people go, "What do you do for a living?" And I'm like, kind of depends what hat I've got on and what day. Like sometimes I'm doing this, sometimes I'm doing that. And if I ever have to turn around to somebody and say, oh, I'm a beauty therapist, because rightly so, that's exactly what I am. That is my roots, and that's where I came from. I was a holistic therapist originally. You do get looks. You do get people go, oh. In fact, I remember actually, they do. It's like a puppy dog head tilt. I remember somebody turning around to me once and asking me, and I said, oh, I'm a beauty therapist. And she literally went, oh. And I was like, wow, I probably earn more money in a week than you earn in a year. Like, you know, you just think, sit down. But I found that incredibly frustrating, I think, in the industry, kind of going up. And obviously, as the business grew, I had to take on a team, which is just like, that for me was, I struggled with that, because you can be a fantastic leader, it doesn't make you a very good manager. I'm a shit manager. Shit. And Rosie, my second, will absolutely agree as well, like appalling. It's almost embarrassing. But leader, I'm a fantastic leader. You know, I innovate, I can create stuff, I am the creative. Rosie is absolutely flawless when it comes to managing a team and getting them to do what we need to get done. I just don't have that skill set. It's not a thing that I had. So when
do you know what though? It's like, I think it's so important in business that you can recognise what you're good at and recognise what you're bad at. Yeah. Because if you're trying to do everything, instead of just saying, you know what, I'm really bad at that, so actually I'm just going to leave that alone, because that's where, again, you can make mistakes and things can fall down. And if one area is slightly off, the rest of them don't quite align, do they?
Not at all. It's like it's dominoes. It's like a knock-on effect. And I think with hiring teams, I say this to so many people: if you are hiring your first ever hire, they can't look like you. Like you can't have the same skill set, because your business doesn't need two of you.
That's good advice. That's really good advice for anyone watching. That's
brings something else to the table.
Yes,
effectively.
And I suppose with like certain leaders, they might not necessarily have anyone that they go to. So I think coaching helps with this, because somewhat's that you might not think you're bad at, someone else might actually have the courage to tell you that you're bad at.
Oh my god, I don't ever hire somebody who's a yes man. I call them yes men. You know, the ones that you have meetings with and you go, oh, I've got this idea, and they go, yeah, great, sounds amazing, when actually it's bullshit. Like having somebody who has the confidence to turn around to you and go, no, like that's an awful idea, is such a powerful thing to have.
Absolutely.
Which Rosie does to me frequently. Like I literally will start a new business. It's
good though, and I think they're the best people, because sometimes I'm around people and I'm like, I'll do something and I know it could have been better, but I'll say, what do you think to this? And they'll go, it's absolutely amazing, Jess. And I think,
no, it's not.
No, it's not. And I think I need to find someone that I can show this to, that's actually going to give me some feedback, but you know, it might be negative,
criticize
criticize it and tell me how I can do it better. I thrive off that.
I think that's probably why a lot of people have business coaches now as well, because they know that, I mean, I will always say to people, it's not that your idea is bad, but should we park it? Like, let's not do it this quarter. Let's sort this out first.
And prioritise.
Let's get you making money. And then perhaps next quarter, you know, quarter two, we can look back at it and see if it's still something that you want to do, because not all ideas will, you know, make it to the forefront of your business, but they're still ideas. And when you open a business, you're a creative. You need to be able to creative dump somewhere. I tend to tell people, if you get an A3 sheet of paper with loads of colourful like markers, do almost like with every idea that you have, do almost like a mind map, and you know, just figure out how it would work in the business. Like, I don't know, you want to bring a new product into the business. Okay, great, how does that look? Okay, so we'll retail it. Okay, we'll train this amount of staff on it. This is how much the investment would be, and then be able to take a step back from it, blue tack it to a wall, and actually go, right, is that actually a good idea? Like, would that actually work? Because sometimes when you look at it in real terms, you can kind of see straight away, no, that ain't gonna work. That's a pretty shit idea.
Yeah, before you've kind of gone investing loads of money.
And at least then that's taken you, 10 minutes? You know, what a great way to go, nah, that's rubbish. Let's try again.
And I think it also helps you to prioritise, which a lot of people that I coach struggle with. They struggle with knowing what's a priority and what's not. And I tend to say to them, whatever's making you money now is your priority. Massively. Don't put the thing that's making you money last. That needs to be first, and then everything else will follow in an order that, you know, makes sense for you and that feels good for you.
I always do an ABC list.
Do you?
Yeah. So like, I always say to clients that if you have a ton of because we always keep them in here, don't we, as well, which is like mind-boggling. So I always say to them, create an ABC list. Your A list has to be done imminently in the next week. Your B list in the next month. C list in the next 3 months. Yeah. And do the tasks that actually require your attention, because so often as human beings we will go and do the tasks that don't require our attention just so we can get like a little tick, because we all like seeing a little green tick that's done. And problem is that we're not actually doing anything to push ourselves forward. Yeah. So the big things we end up doing last minute and then not very well. So if we can get rid of the other stuff and just focus on the stuff that we need to do, you'll look at your to-do list and go, okay, they're starting to look like they're working.
And that's so much more of a productive way of working. So brings me on to my next question. You might not like this one. What has been your biggest like failure? Like, what has just for you gone utterly, like, you've thought, oh my God?
I would actually say it's managing my team incorrectly.
Really?
Yeah, so we had a point in the business where we had multiple people leaving, and it was simply because I was broken as a leader. Like, I had worked way too many hours in the company and not on the company. I had prioritised things that didn't need prioritising, and I didn't have the skill set to manage the team the way that they needed to be managed. So I would, for instance, if somebody had done something wrong, I'd be like, why have they done that? Like, I just don't understand it, because to me it's common sense. Where, you know, I forget that these girls have probably been in the industry for 5 minutes. I've been living and breathing it for 20 years. And it's very, very different. They were trained very differently to me. Whereas now, if somebody does something wrong in the clinic and I have to have a meeting with our manager about it, just to sort of discuss things and how we're going to push forward, my first question to her normally is, did she know that she needed to do X, Y, and Z? Like, has she actually been given direction? Or is it the case that she's gone and done the best that she can with the information she was given, and that's kind of been the outcome? Because I'm not about to sit here and give someone an absolute, you know, ribbing if I've not actually told them what to do in the first place. I can't just expect them to know. Yeah. And a lot of the time as managers, you know, as me and Rosie, we have sat back and gone, oh shit. Yeah, no, that's come from the top. Yeah. So no, we can't bollock them, because it's actually not their fault at all. Whereas in the beginning, I would have been passing blame. Yeah. Now I will go, okay, is this my error? Is this a leadership error? Yeah. Or is this a member of staff
Which you also have to learn to do.
I would say a good 3/4 of the shit that happens in my clinic will come from a leadership problem, rather than a member of staff problem. And it will be something, you know, minor, like, I don't know, the girls haven't hit retail. Okay, great. Have we pulled them up on it every single week throughout the month and not just at the end of the month? You know, have we been, you know, sort of chasing their tails with it, going, right, how can we help you? Do you require more training on this product brand? All of these things to help facilitate them hitting their retail targets, rather than me just bollocking them because they haven't done it. Yeah. It could be that they're not confident in the products they're selling. So we always now sort of take a bit more of a bird's eye view, rather than attaching myself emotionally, I suppose, to it.
Yeah, and I suppose that you said you have Rosie. Yeah. Also recognising that we can't always do these tasks by ourselves, and that actually we need someone to support us with these tasks to be able to look at that. Yeah. Because when we're stressed, do we think about, did the person have the right direction, or are we just angry and annoyed that we've wasted time, lost money, and we're just going to, you know, put our Devil Wears Prada hat on?
And it's been able to offload. Like, I can't tell you. I mean, Rosie, so many times we've had meetings where she's gone, right, Emma, I'm ready to take on more responsibility. And I've gone, I'm like, it's my baby, and you're taking it away, like one little chunk at a time. And I mean, she's had me in meetings in tears where I'm like, what am I going to do now? You've taken all my responsibility away. And she's like, but that's why I'm here. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's mine. Yeah. Stop taking my job.
It's learning to delegate and to truly delegate and let go.
It's the letting go thing when you've created something from scratch and it's your baby, to be able to hand that over and trust that they have you, you know, and they will treat it with as much care as you. I remember saying to her, this happened this year, beginning of the year, and I gave her more responsibility. I've basically let go really now of the clinic. I go in there a couple of days a week, but I don't really deal with the running as such anymore. And I remember turning around to her, and I was very, very teary, and she said, why are you upset? And I said, what am I meant to do now? Like
feel lost.
Like, where do I fit? And you know, what do I bring to the table anymore? Like, what am I going to do on a daily basis? And she said, go home and sit on your swing seat in the garden and make a cup of tea. And I was like, what? Next thing I know, I signed up for a degree because I was just like, fuck that. Like, I can't sit at home and have a cup of tea. That's
and
boring.
you're doing your counsellor's degree now.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, so
That's
it kind
come
of
at a right
felt
time, hasn't
void.
it? Yeah.
So rather than being busy over here, I'm now busy over here. But
it's a bit of a daunting idea, actually. What will we do when we retire?
It's a very, very daunting idea, and I've got a couple of ladies on my books where they're at that phase at the moment where they're kind of, you know, maybe about a year out of pushing retirement, and I've actually said to all of them, because they're like us, they're powerhouses, you know, they used to be in puppet masters, and I said to them, if your only love in life is your business, you're gonna have a real problem. Like, and I'm telling you that factually, I've seen it.
Because where does it go?
Because what do? You've gone from being needed to not needed literally overnight. You need to find a love that is outside of your work. You can't just have, you know, a love here. And a lot of people would say to me, oh God, is it really, really sad that I genuinely don't have any other hobbies other than my job? And I'm like, no, because that's really normal for an entrepreneur. You know,
and I think we don't prioritise hobbies when we're entrepreneurs because we're trying to do everything with the business. We forget again self-care about ourselves. So it's just finding those things. I mean, when I retire, I'm really hoping I'm going to be on a yacht somewhere. Oh, you know, I've got plans.
I've seen an invite. Yeah. I mean, if you can get hobbies and, you know, you're still connecting with friends, I think we need to remember that if you sat there one day and everything was taken away from you, I mean, it happened, didn't it? COVID. Our businesses, I mean, my Range Rover sat in my driveway for basically a year and didn't get driven. All of these things disappeared, and I remember sitting there to myself and thinking, God, this shit really don't matter, does it? Like, the only thing that I was worried about in that year that I was home were, are my baby safe? Because they were only, 18 months or 6 months at that time. Is my immediate family well? You know, any of them sick? Do any of them need help or support? You know, grandparents and stuff. And are my friends okay?
Yeah.
Like,
and that's so simple.
That was it. And then we all got rushed back into work again, and we all kind of forgot what that connection kind of was. And I think that's the problem that we all have. We all lose that connection. We build these empires, but then when those empires go, we're like, oh, I haven't nurtured the thing that I'm actually going to need.
Yes.
You know,
at the end. I actually listened to it was actually Stephen Bartlett podcast actually, and he was saying in one of his podcasts, you probably listened to it, that he was he became unwell basically, and he was talking about his table and how his table was so full of everything, but actually if you take his health away, you know, what's left? Because the table completely just goes and falls.
Well, yeah.
And I was like, he's so right. And it really, you know, when you listen to something and you think, I'm never going to forget that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I got COVID during the first stint, and it did some damage to my lungs and my heart. So I was quite unwell for, I mean, it was months, if I'm brutally honest. I was in and out of hospital, being admitted all the time. And during the time that I actually had COVID, my husband actually had to take me to the toilet, so he had to carry me. I couldn't walk. I had multiple ambulances. I couldn't breathe. Like the whole thing just, I mean, how old was I then? Like early 30s. Like, it absolutely, it's like someone had just come in and smacked me straight in the face.
Terrifying.
And I remember texting my friend at the time and saying to her, promise me that if something happens to me, you'll help my husband look after the kids. And she was like, Emma, please. And I was like, I don't think I've ever been in a point in my life where I genuinely thought I was probably going to die. Like, even my husband, he said to me, like, genuinely didn't think you were going to pull through that. Like, I thought that was kind of you done, because I was so unwell. And then the aftermath of that long COVID, I think it was probably then that I sat back and went, okay, I can't keep working like this. Like, my body physically won't allow it. I'm not well enough. I couldn't even go to the corner shop in the car without being put on the sofa for 2 days after, because it just exhausted me. And my cardiac doctor, I remember saying to her, how can I overcome this without surgery? Like, you know, I'm very, very young. I shouldn't be dealing with a heart disease at this age. I have so many things I need to be doing, and I need to be fit and well to do them. And I remember her saying to me, right, your whole life needs to change. She said, your stress needs to disappear. She said, no caffeine. You can't have alcohol. You know, you need to learn how to meditate. You need to do this, that, and the other. And I remember thinking, fucking hell, like, does this woman know my life? Like, it is so the opposite. I couldn't even stress at that point, especially having a 6-month-old and an 18-month-old. I was like, is she mad? No stress, really?
No stress, no coffee.
Okay. So it literally kept me going. And I got to this point where she said to me, it's either that or you are literally going to be admitted every 5 minutes. And I was like, okay. So I started thinking about it, and she was right. I was being admitted every 5 minutes. Like, it would feel like a heart attack. My husband was literally scraping me off of the bathroom floor where I couldn't walk. My heart was hurting. I was having palpitations. I was missing heartbeats. Like, it was a wild time. And I remember looking back at that conversation and thinking, God, she's right. Like, I actually simply have no choice at this point. I'm in so much pain, I'm just going to have to deal with it. And I treated it holistically. I went into a homeopath and stuff, and she was an absolute dreamboat for me and dealt with the pain. But now that my life has changed, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I have like the odd one every now and again. I don't drink caffeine. I do meditate regularly. You know, I try and live as calm and as stress-free as I can.
That's great.
The impact that it's had on my body is nuts. Like, my nervous system is so much calmer since doing all of that. And I wonder sometimes perhaps if we look at the outside of what we're doing in our life on a day-to-day basis, are they contributing to the fact that we're super stressed? Are we sinking a bottle of wine every Friday night? You know, because I get fucking anxious when I get pissed now.
Yeah,
like,
same.
And it will last for about 4 days.
Yeah, I can't drink anymore.
Absolutely
I have a few wines and I'm literally like,
on a Saturday, and you don't feel well till Wednesday. Like,
yeah, I can't
nuts.
do it anymore. I don't even know how I used to do it. It's like, how did I used to do it? And my anxiety got so bad that the next day after having a drink, I'm like thinking, I'm going to die. My family's going to die. I'm just, it's awful.
I think that's really common though, because actually not only that, how many times have we rung friends and gone, oh my God, what did I say to
what did I say, what did I do?
Has anyone got any photos or videos that are incriminating? Like, do they need to be deleted and blocked immediately? And I wonder whether we are just part of this society now where, I mean, there are so many addicts now, like in just generally in the world, and I'm not just talking about drugs and alcohol, you know, things like social media and all of the rest of it. When we are in a position where we feel like we're not in control, e.g. being pissed, unfortunately you are going to be anxious the following day because you've kind of let go for a few hours and gone, oh God, what have I done in those few hours that potentially could end up online? You know, it could literally break you professionally.
It's just not worth the risk.
It is not worth the risk. So my advice I would probably say to a lot of people is that just look at actually how you're living your life on a day-to-day basis. It could be something really minor, like giving up alcohol at the weekends, and you could sit there and go, I only do it socially, and I'm like, yeah, and that's cool, but is it benefiting you socially? Like, could you go out and have a mocktail rather than a cocktail? You know?
And if you're answering no, bit concerning.
And just think about kind of, I suppose, how you're feeling post, a bit like you're saying, you know, once you've done it, how is that making your body feel, and for how long as well? Like,
because if you got to get to Wednesday to feel better,
it's not ideal, is it?
It's not worth it.
And even if you trial it for a month just to see what you can put down, I mean, I can honestly say I don't really miss alcohol. Like, I genuinely thought I would, but I don't. It's not something now that I sit there and go, God, I have to have. I'm like, oh yeah, spritz are nice, but like whatever. If they've got it in non-alcoholic form, like, I'll take it. Yeah,
and it's being mindful as well. Like, I used to drink more than I drink now, and now if I get to my third glass of wine, I think, I'm like, okay, this is the third one.
I need to stop.
No, I do. I think, and I literally think, okay, if I have another one, I'm probably going to feel anxious tomorrow. Tomorrow I have to do X, Y, and Z.
Parenting.
Am I going to have a fourth glass? No, I'm not.
Because you do think about it more.
Yeah, you have to, because if you don't, and I'm very mindful on days where I know I've had a bad week. So if I've had a bad week, I'm like, is this a sensible choice? And I do speak to myself. I'm a psycho.
Jess, are we making this decision the right way? Yeah.
I do talk to myself a lot. Like, I don't even know if this is normal. I think
there's a lot to be said. Oh my God, totally normal.
I talk to myself in the car and everything.
I don't know. I think we should kind of make it more of a thing that, you know, just go and have a bloody word with yourself, because sometimes you need to have a bit of self-reflection, whether that's in the car, however it looks to you. I actually often go on drives. Like, if I don't have the kids, and I think, do you know what? I need 10 minutes with my own thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, not even necessarily talking out loud, but I just need to I just need to figure something out in my own head, because it's just not making sense to me right now. Yeah. And just a 10-minute drive, you know, singing my heart out like I think I'm on The Voice, and then being able to come home and going, right, okay, now I understand what that means, and I understand how it should look. Why are we not doing this more?
I mean, I suppose what is normal.
Oh my God!
But I have spoke to myself on various occasions, and stuff have gone, Jess, are you talking to me? I'm like, no.
Just myself.
No, just me.
I think that's fair.
Oh my God, I can't believe we've just admitted that on a podcast. Right, let me see where we are. Do you know how long we've been filming for? So I'm going to ask you about future plans. So do you have, before I move on to future plans, is there anything you want me to cover in the bits above, if you can read my writing?
Motivation one might be good for everybody.
Yeah. Where have I written that? How do you maintain motivation and passion?
Other than that, no, I think you've hit everything, to be honest.
Yeah, let's definitely do motivation. Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about how you maintain motivation, particularly for your clients?
Yes. So when I'm dealing with the clients who are lacking motivation, so when they're calling me out going, I'm just done this week and I don't have anything left, I normally go through a strategic plan with them, and I get them actually to write down where they see themselves in the next kind of 5 years. So if I was to turn around to you and say, Jess, what does your life actually physically look like in the next 5 years? Like, if I was to say to you, you're going to walk into your clinic, what does it look like in 5 years? Like, what does life look like in 5 years? Not just the business.
Right, okay.
What car do you want to be driving? You know, how do you want your days to be spent? Do you want to have a Friday off? Do you want to be earning a certain level of money? Those things can't happen unless we do the things that we need to do today. So I always say work backwards. So we'll do a 5 to 10 year plan, and then we'll break that down into yearly goals, and then we break them down into quarterly and then monthly. Because when we look at like a huge staircase, it's a lot. And that can be overwhelming, and that can mean that a lot of us will go, well, do you know what, it's a lot of work, so I'm not going to do anything. So I'm just going to procrastinate and whatever. If we can break them down into tiny little things. So for you, for instance, for like say mentoring and coaching, if it was like, right, I want to be earning 100k by the end of the year, this is how many clients I want to be serving on a monthly basis. Okay, fine. What are your packages like? You know, have we packaged them up, made them look really, really sexy? What are the price points of them? Okay, once we've got those price points, how many of those packages or how many clients do we need to find a month to make your yearly goal possible? And to you, it could be you were looking at it as a yearly goal thinking, oh my God, I've got to hit 100k and that's X amount of sales and that looks huge. But actually, if you look at it on a monthly basis, it could be signing up 2 new clients a month.
It's taken away the overwhelming vision, isn't it?
That feeling of pressure of having to perform all of the time. And that tends to be enough motivation for people to go, oh, okay, yeah, I can sign 2 clients a month. Like, what's 2 clients a
because
month?
you've gone from doing 100 clients in a year to 2 a month.
Absolutely.
Feels amazing. You can leave that feeling really motivated, and
that gives you that motivational feeling. However, that being said, I always say to everybody, when you see entrepreneurs online and they go, I journal every day and I meditate every morning and this is my morning routine, I always laugh at them because I'm like, this is so bullshit. Like, my mornings are so chaotic, I can't even describe to you. Most of the time I don't even get a cup of tea or a coffee before I've actually, you know, gone to work. I have it at work. I've got 2 children hanging off of me. I'm trying to make packed lunches and all the rest of it. You can't always feel motivated doing stuff like that. Like, sometimes life is just lifing and you've kind of just got to go with it.
I use that expression a lot.
It just
life. It's lifing.
It's lifing. And actually, sometimes a bit like I'm doing at the moment, I'm taking X amount of months out of the business because I need it. My business certainly don't need it. Like, I could really do with working in the business right now, but I don't have any. My bucket's full. My capacity bucket is full. So I've just gone, do you know what? It is what it is, and I'm just going to take the time out. If you recognise when actually you don't feel motivated to do anything, just like, can we just learn to listen to our own bodies?
I know it's okay.
It's okay. I mean, I actually sent a message to my old business coach and I said to her, oh my God, so before I put the post down, I said, I'm really, really struggling. I need to take time out of the business. She sent me a voice note that was 2 minutes and like 15 seconds long or something. And part of this voice note, she basically said, Emma, it is okay to put this stuff down right now. Like, you've got so many other things going on that needs your attention. You don't always have to show up. You don't always have to be there. And I sent her a love heart and said thank you. And she sent me a message back and she said, what can I do for you? Like, how can I support you at the moment? And I said to her, you've just done it in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. That's all I needed. I needed somebody to tell me that it was acceptable to not feel motivated right now, and to be able to put it down. Yeah, I haven't failed. I'm just taking a little breather and a break. And sometimes that breather and a break could literally be a day. It could be a weekend. It could be a week. It could be a year. Like, however it looks. Like, it's pretty cool for that. Like, if you need it, you need it. So don't feel like you have to show up every day and be like bang, 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 bang. Because actually a lot of the time you'll hit burnout and then you don't feel motivated at all. Like, we should only feel motivated when we feel motivated. We shouldn't be
that's great advice.
it.
And it's, again, bringing things back to realism. We are people.
No pressure.
You know, we have hearts. Because we forget we're just like robots everywhere.
God,
it's crazy.
And it feels like that a lot of the time.
It does. We need to just bring things back to down to earth. And calm.
I agree.
Okay, love that. So I'm going to ask you about future plans.
5, and we've only got 10 spaces available. I think we've got 7 left now. And we are basically flying out people to do certain talks. They will actually give you the toolkit that you need to create kind of 6 and 7-figure companies. One of the people that we have flying out is actually somebody who's coached me, and they cost about 100k a year to actually have coaching with them. So it's crazy money. So they will have like a huge impact, if you like. So even just with that, the investment is
great,
totally worth it.
Wow.
We've booked a yacht trip on it, so you can swim with turtles. We've got private chefs. Like, you basically just need to get yourself to Greece, and we'll just take care of the rest.
I'm sold.
And then our UK retreats, we tend to do them more kind of down south, and they are normally held in things like converted barns, or our last one was actually in a house that was done by Grand Designs. They designed it. That was amazing. And it's very, very based around mindset, meditation, breath work, yoga classes, and then we have guest speakers as well. So we kind of mixture the both together. But full details and tickets and stuff can be purchased on, if you click onto my Instagram page, and on the bio there's a link, and it will just take you straight to kind of like a sales page and gives you all the information that you require, and then you can purchase the tickets. But you can do either payment in full or payment plans as well.
Great, that's really helpful. So what we'll do for the listeners is we'll pop those links on the screen for them, in case anyone is watching that thinks I would love to go on that. I know that I'm certainly interested, particularly in your Greece one. So I can't
wait for that one.
It's going to be so good. And I love the retreats because they're just so based on relaxation and really kind of just stripping everything back.
Absolutely.
Which, is great. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for driving down today and coming to talk to me.
Thank you for having me.
I've really enjoyed it. And I hope that you've all enjoyed it as well, whether you've watched on YouTube or you might just listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and we'll see you in the next episode.